see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest of the trinkets displayed on the table. Some on horseback are big men on big horses clad in lamella armor and
I used to be very serious about my Franco-Nigerian knights.
they're not all blue. These figurines also wear gold coats and caps, complemented by orange trousers.
This is what the loyalists look like, yes. But
Which ones? Ah, those. Yes, they are. I find the paint job a bit gaudy, but children like the bright colours indiscriminately.
This set of soldiers isn't meant to look impressive.
You're probably talking about the revolutionaries, yes? I think their poverty has been exaggerated for effect. When you place them next to the royalists, it doesn't seem like they could possibly win. Maybe.
Why? What's this? A headless man riding a horse?
Oh, that's the Headless Phone Rider. The Headless Phone Rider. It's an urban legend about a man who rides the streets of Revachol sporting a fawn tracksuit. 50 cents. Bargain price.
He lost his cap when he lost his head. Perhaps he's looking for the head.
Did I mention that this figurine is supposed to be lucky? Always carry it with you. Hello again. How can I help you? Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promise.
This is a pawn shop, and it did feel as if you've met before. Oh God. The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer. Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol citizens' militia. And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off-the-charts photon emissions. The unhealthy kind. She didn't seem like a policeman, although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit. Truth be told, she was terrifying.
right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm issued by the citizens' militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it? Yeah, it's not good. I do hope we manage to clean this mess up somehow, while also keeping our focus on the murder investigation.
My apologies, officer, but I have no idea where she was coming from or where she went.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it now. You'll just have to hope you luck upon her somehow.
Of course. Sure thing. Sure, man.
Feeling warm and enthralled by the movement of light, while the mind continues to race forward. Lucky bastard. A drug developed by the military to treat and prevent radiation sickness. It has psychedelic side effects, and it makes your eyes turn yellow.
Why on earth? These are prescription. I can't really see without them. Prolidon is just something since the People's Pile disaster, I was with the Emergency Relief Brigade.
He's taken it for mental and emotional, not physical pain these days.
A bad idea. Some poor leftist built a particle decay generator in hopes of bringing affordable electricity to underserved communities.
The People's Pile was a Type U particle decay generator that failed immediately after entering a primitive nuclear reactor, also called a pile. Construction began during the Commune of Revachol. The people continued work on it after the Commune fell. Needless to say, things didn't work out. An emergency valve defect resulted in steam pressure blowing the turbine, taken the fuel containment vessel up in the...
We were an all-volunteer force, self-organized, tried to help the fire brigades contain the spill.
On the patch, gamma radiation lines crossed with a red drop of blood.
I lived by the river since I was a small boy. The Esperance didn't have the art to let it all go to shit with that. There wasn't much the volunteer force could do, however. There's a reason why everyone's tried to forget any of it ever happened, and why no one has tried to repair or replace the pile. So much disappointment and early deaths. No one's. Everyone's.
So much bitterness.
A bunch of poor people built themselves a primitive nuclear reactor, hoping for the best. What do you think is going to happen? The cleanup happened 15 years ago. I was young then, so I came to Martinez. People told me don't go there, it's a shithole. I said, people, we just had a nuclear pile meltdown. I'm gonna get as far away from Forberg as I can. Still in the same city, but I like the theory more than the story. Outward movement, not vortices.
Yeah, you gotta get in on those vortices, my man.
Have you tried it before?
The lieutenant steps away, pretending to admire some of the knickknacks on display. He won't be your knock, but he won't be thrilled about this either.
If you say so. Here you go, man. Of course. Hello. Let me know. I doubt it, but I can try.
The pawnbroker's gaze is already...
Someone else came here earlier.
This is a point the lieutenant shifts from one foot.
Sure, man. Sure thing. Sure, man. Sure. Let me have a look. Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps.
Wow, a very large red t-shirt. Oh yeah, the print, the antlers on the hood of the man's smells like worn cotton. Worn cotton with a side of flea mark.
Sniffing is okay, but please don't try anything on. Can't have you leaving your photon emissions in the fabric of things.
It's the man from Hen.
Walking away from his burning village. Yes. Huh? Oh, I see. That, in fact, most people don't think that.
Heimdall isn't a real place.
Neither is the man a real man, of course. But both the man and Heimdall are an ontological necessity.
Wow, what?
I mean, even if the man from Heimdall didn't exist before the invention of...
Okay.
You sound skeptical. Besides...
It's for the best, because Heimdall is not a real place. His theory isn't exactly incoherent.
I doubt the real man from Heimdall, but yes, the books are very sexist. Too real.
That's dirt cheap.
But why? I sympathize, I do, but this is a for-profit enterprise. Welcome to Heimdall, officer.
Hey, so we've been monitoring you internally, and now we know your Copo type. Guess. No, you're the sorry cop. The cop who's sorriest. Let's make it official then, shall we? Of course you are. It's okay. See if you can get something out of this, like info. That won't happen. Typical Martinez street. The light. This would make.
Yes,
His manner is casual.
it was
We are not here. You have to admit it's rather clever.
7. The light,
The light has been removed.
the most important.
Okay, that checks out.
Hi, Ace Detective. Are you here for more books?
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her safe.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You Phaeton, my maiden name. I meant you, the Revachol Citizens Militia, the police. I'm glad to see you here.
Like steel. There is strength there. If she wanted, she could say.
I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode.
He's trying to signal something. He wants you to play up your condition. It happens quicker than a shooting star. But did the lieutenant just wink at you?
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation. And the full... Why, yes I am. Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around? Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou.
Technically, the neighboring Ozone and Fas Alamer island groups are archipelagos. Why?
I haven't seen anyone else drive a souped-up Capri Kenema motor carriage either.
Actually, that motor carriage has been specially issued to serve as a patrol and pursuit vehicle. It's for crossing long distances in the greater Revachol industrial harbor.
Neither is this. A toy, I mean. It's a machine for crossing long distances in the Bay of Revachol, between the city and the island.
You need to make this lady admit she's only riding around on this boat because she's rich. Why what? Stop thinking. Take her down. You're not? Okay then. Just keep on admiring the boat then. unburdened by envy.
The boat? No. It is called Cor de Leyte 19 because that's the type of sloop it is. It's a pleasure craft, a 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though these days I mainly use it for business. My sloop, I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft.
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain, white as her nonchalance might be related to something called the Wayfarer Act, a law that says she doesn't need a license. Sly Fox, you're not aggressive enough to harass her further on this.
Good. What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Saint-Baptiste, Elysium, and...
Why, thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in... 20 billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. A conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes... They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Islas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question. Better not tie the fourth day to the bat's day on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with. Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Aliments that gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus. Why? By throwing off half a century of foreign domination under the coalition. Unfortunately for you.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labour Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful...
Wait, she just admitted that the lynching and the strike are connected.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. What can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their big tent organisation now. Yes, I believe there is a connection. But that's a subject for later. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more...
ludicrous even. It's meant.
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board. It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision, about what? About anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
An opening gambit, surely.
They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. So I hoped. But this type of opening is usually followed by a more reasonable offer. I have yet to hear one. Just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Extremely. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to?
Don't let her answer it herself.
If these strikebreakers were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not yet, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him.
She's being sarcastic. Don't take her performance literally.
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
If you were to prick him with something sharp, you could see it oozing out. A knife, maybe? No, a rapier.
Oh, heavens, no. We get along just fine. Yet, now that you mention it, I can't stop imagining that black treacle just dribbling down his double chin. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's... Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. Organised labour at its best as...
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be.
Refreshingly honest, officer. And your opinion, detective? If I may ask. I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is... Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers. I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
This forewoman, her name?
Sadly, the company records do not even give a name. She's just forewoman in private correspondence, Holly. I don't even know if it's a sir or given name, and I don't have access to the Union's files. Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? This reality.
Yes, reality is your side case. An experimental side case.
What? Such an acute encephalopathy just doesn't seem possible. Surely you're joking.
Don't be phased, madame. He functions perfectly well. He only needs a lowdown on all of reality.
We may be here a while then. Ask away, officer. I'll help however I can.
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
We're in Martinez, baby. A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It... aren't we all?
She refers to your corresponding ages.
Martinez is a district of Revachol. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. Shelled to smithereens during the Revolution. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before. As a teenager. This place used to be a province. A workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean. The world's largest body of water.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the Blue Immensities.
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed-over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the River Esperance. We're in the delta of this river on the...
It is clear this pebble is of enormous value to her and to humanity at large.
Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city, the great kind, history detective. They built this city to resolve history. The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile Marat, in the DeLorean century. 380 years ago, they say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. By that I mean conflicts. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. Oh, we're quite a way off. About...
A collection of tall ghosts behind the water vapor, light reflecting off their glass windows.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know?
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory impaired. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Madame Messier will be here later.
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Oh, of course not. You are already diligent for getting this far. And diligent boys remember where they...
Indeed. I'm always at your service. These are unimportant times, Detective. You and I were born after the dust had settled. For the big time, the revolution. It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next. Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head. Oh, and the anarchists too.
She likes the totality of it.
Indeed. They piled them in mass graves in... Did they ever?
Yeah, it was a curve.
Yes. The Insulindian deluge, they call it. Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head. The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad. Yes. King Guillaume had a nose for bad PR. Him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. The liberals got the mineral rights. Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective. Some were rich enough to stay with the constitution, with monarchy. They didn't win so much as survive.
She's one of them. Of course.
To foreign intervention. The coalition. Those people really took the mineral rights. The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground. The coalition of nations. Grad, Mesque, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-la-Clay. The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. At least not in the same manner and volume as the others do. This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took.
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. Unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
A devout man of the center. Hard to come by. It's good to have someone who takes a moderate approach to head shooting. In your line of work, I mean. The turn of the century revolution. The revolution began in '02 on the Isla of Grad. It wasn't a who, but a what. A pan from Revachol and Grad? Not far. Why? You and I, officer. A city-state divided into free market zones under the everlasting interregnum of the coalition of nations. The zone of control is the third incarnation of modernity.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Time flies. The 20s saw a decade of urban war west of the river leveled. The 30s,
All that untaxed income must have fueled.
Yes, and quantitative easing. Welcome to reality, baby.
For her to be where she is, Wild Pines Group must have picked the right side.
They picked the winning side. That's why they're here. Perhaps it wouldn't have turned out that way had I been in charge. I might have bet on the king and led the Pines to doom. I would have sided with the cannons. 10 of the 14 Indo tribes got it. Good question. What would you have done differently? So a quarter of humanity simply lost their minds. And how would you stop a prion, a complex folding protein, unlife, with the technology 50 years ago? Liquidate? That's what King Philippe kept screaming from the Sol Aurum. In the end, they liquidated the Sol Aurum, melted the palace cube down.
Opinions expressed here do not...
And what is your official position, Lieutenant?
My position, ma'am? My parents got ripped to shreds in the revolution. I would have gone the same way. I was saved by being 2 years old. That's my position. The abattoir.
Understandable. They are what they are. Who knows? Anyway, enough sentiment.
Not so fast. Who is she in all this? Ask her who she is.
It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use.
She nods slowly. It remains a mystery what you mean by this something close. This isn't about you. It's about reality.
I am the vilest of the vile. A traitor. A devourer of nations and infants. I am an ultra.
She raises the corner of her mouth, smirking, revealing a canine.
No, not like me. I am the nether creature of the Forbidden Swamp who push. Are you liberated enough to offer up your home on a plate for financial colonists? No, I think not. Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, do you find me frightening?
In her green eyes, you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride.
A devil, who being of great charm and guile, sneaketh into the homes of the godly.
That dialect is ubi sunt. You recognize it's a quote from somewhere. A play written way back in the Franco-Nigerian century.
Ah, maybe you remember more than you let on. Despite whatever brain damage the alcohol may have inflicted. I hope we're able to remain friends, despite my scaly bulk and my love of regicide and homosexuality. The loss of sovereignty was not our plan all along, I assure you. When the dust settled, the Liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future. This was all our last generation. With due respect to our overlords, the Eternal, I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the Coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for my own sake.
She realizes her small, cold fists are clenched.
Then for my daughters. We had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isola down rather than let them have it. Perhaps my intellectual vanity will be my undoing.
You're no dummy yourself.
A smart boy getting smarter, one basic term of reality at a time. Yes, I suppose I am. But I wouldn't be a patriot anywhere but here.
Seditious talk, man.
Yes. Whatever else I am. A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, or 2. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall, mostly the urban middle class, I believe. Splat, splat.
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat.
Wonderful. The girl in the old lady rag looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture. Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant. Though she prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. I can't. That's how simple it is. One may dye their hair green and wear their grandma's coat all they want. All right. What next?
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the supraculture.
And what would that be? I can see that, yes. I dabble in those dark arts, nothing infra about disco, baby. Those days are long behind me. And even in the early 30s, I would say I was more of a new girl. The new. A cultural era. And the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post... It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-coloured everything. By the looks of it, That would have been when you came of age. Now, wasn't it Guillaume Le Million who said, "If you can remember the new, you weren't there"? Ah, yes. This is not very central to reality, is it? I can't be 100% sure, but I believe he died due to complications from venereal disease. You can't get a venereal disease from that, all of them. I'm afraid no. But then again, one can't be entirely sure. Anyway, what other basic facets of reality should we discuss?
A strange coldness comes over you as you look at the world. The waves sway the sloop slowly. That's all. It's on the tip of your tongue, a doubt of sorts, or
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything?
is what you want to say, but it isn't that easy. Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes, bub. Why, yes, tucked away under that sturdy green raincoat, while dull orange pearls hang. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say, within reason, "Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes. A scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead, and your underwear fills. You're poor, poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too, yes, you're too ashamed to ask this person for money. Too scared to belittle yourself in her eyes.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of... Glad to have been of assistance. Quite a few things. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and...
Of course, ma'am. We should have and this is my colleague from Precinct 41.
How curious. Why is that, Detective? How can I forget? I was hoping your condition was rhetorical, Detective. A questioning technique. I have sympathy for your highly unusual condition, sir, and I believe you. But as it stands, I cannot...
I understand the dictates of...
I'm afraid not, Lieutenant.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. Feelings will guide the way.
I assure you, it is no small matter for me either. We all share the responsibility for disarming this situation. I hope you have a badge for me as soon as possible. Trust me, officer, I am fully committed to resolve...
She's silent. The wind flaps the sail above her.
Officer. You know, I don't mean to sound cold, but if you want something, you have to give something back.
You're doing it. Despite your own best efforts, you're still getting it.
I'll be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to... The Union is conducting drug trade out of the harbour. It's an open secret in my... Or you can find your badge, which honestly seems like a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we...
It's clear you like the hard stuff, Bruta. Lower intestine? Fascism, Bruta. Many things, but it's mostly about trusting your gut. Yes, them. Women, men of war. You don't like them. They're insane. Their idiocy needs to be... That's what fascism boils down to. The rest is also important. But the main thing is that women need to know their place. Feminists? No, it can't be.
Did you know you can forget thoughts? Go to your thought cabinet and forget all about feminism.
You're going to keep your views, right? Keep your views, Brota. For the nation, smart. Best not to mention the women too often. That's why you're the head. Of course you are, Bruta.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance and, not volunteer us to be her henchman. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser.
Maybe this is all her plan. She might have heard about you.
Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
The situation might have changed drastically by the time you locate it.
You could request a new one from the station, but that would literally take months. No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we are siding with the Union. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done and demand for her information on the lynching. I wouldn't go that far. Her reaction did come off as sincere to me.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samar and Isola into
Ingredients for what?
meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL, and various synthetic psychedelics. Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, man.
We're in logistics. Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dock Workers Union.
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbour into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they are vulnerable.
How convenient that they're stranded like beached whales at that roundabout.
Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment.
Her irises are light green.
I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you.
Uncovering Union secrets could also give you an upper hand when dealing with them.
How do you think they're financing this strike?
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. Precisely. We did. On more than one occasion.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the Union's alleged involvement.
Well, here's your chance, officer. No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. This is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wonder.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi. But yes? Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. Of course, Detective.
A sturdy metal door. The door rattles. The door rattles again.
Stop banging on the door. I'm not letting any more strangers inside. Doesn't matter who I
From within comes the faint sound of a broom.
am. The police? Everyone knows the police don't come round here. No. I already told. Go check the backyard door. Maybe someone.
Backyard door.
Madame, I assure you, we are real police officer.
There is no reply. Just faint.
Hey, up here, Piggo. The streets will flow red once more.
The streets will not flow red with anything.
I'm Cindy the fucking Skull. What else do you want to know? Date of birth, blood type, the last time I was tested for Hep C. Had a battery of tests just last week.
A brush. An artist. The red splatter is. The lieutenant is desperately searching for a handkerchief. Hatred, disgust. It's difficult to tell which of the two. The woman on the boat does not.
That is on her. Someone's got to keep an eye on her. On a first-name basis with her, are we? Piggy's moving up in the world. Pig's not half as dumb as he looks. Can't you tell? I'm painting a... I haven't really started it yet. I'm waiting for the right words. Have you ever tried your hand at graffiti? We rarely see pigs round it. This place is severely lacking. I thought I'd mix it up. Yeah? Thanks. I'm sure
She means the opposite.
I ain't no snitch, Pigstein. Go forth and forage.
Actually, there is a shortage of people who talk to us in.
We weren't put on this earth to make your life pleasant. What do I care about some fucking tin eggshells? Ugh, alright. Sad piggy. I'll give you this one. I saw a little girl in the fish. If you haven't been there, the village is a shithole down the coast from the main plaza. Have a good time. No. That's all the snitching, Cindy. I have a weakness for animals. It's the animal thing again. Damn it.
Or a weakness for police officers, miss. Thank you either way.
Watch your back, Ungulate. You've got eyes on you.
Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. You have no clue. So many walls all over Martinez, weather-worn.
Are you trying to sneak up on me?
Apparently, she doesn't like people. Logic error.
Pig's come to take me out. Trying to snuff me out. Don't get fucking clever with me, pig.
You see a young man.
Not looking for any trouble, officer.
It's the voice of someone who has something to hide, my liege.
I don't want to be seen talking to the gendarmerie if that's okay.
Don't let him go. This could be your witness.
Is it really that important? All right, but make it quick. Once I finish this cigarette, I have to run. I can tell that you finally got him down. Thank you.
What were you doing last Sunday?
Oh. You already asked me that, didn't you?
Wait, Is someone else investigating the lynching?
No, not you two. Some more muscular type.
And when did you speak to this more muscular gentleman?
Last week? I don't know. Look.
It'll take more than rain to bring this place back to life.
You didn't answer the question.
I had a friend over. He was my Sunday friend.
He doesn't reply, gesturing no with his cigarette.
My name? My name is Martin Martinet.
That's definitely not his real name.
No, of course not. Could you please lower your voice? No. We won't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really need to get going.
Time to bring out your secret charm. Tears and begging. Show him your emotional side.
No, for God's sake, I don't want you to cry. Listen, I really have to go. Good luck with the investigation.
He's gone. No point in running. Tenements like these often have multiple exits. He could be a witness. Him or his Sunday friend. Either way, we need to look into that muscular type who's asking about our case. There has to be a way of getting inside the building. Let's go check out the door near the pier again. Once we found a way in, we can ask around for his apartment. There must be another way into the building.
A stone, like any other. There's a key beneath it, rusty from the dirt.
This must be for the front door. Pity it doesn't have the apartment number on it. We'll just have to go in and see.
This door has been closed with a padlock. It's a solid lump of metal, but the better whip out those cutters. You won't get very far otherwise. This door has been closed with a padlock. But what are you doing? You're trying to cut the body of the lock with the chain cutters, and despair creeps into you, getting fat on your weakness.
I don't dispute that you have been charged with protecting...
Nothing.